Ladies and gentlemen, welcoming the President of Peru and the President of the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Dear delegates, inclusive growth is part of the fabric of APEC and high on the agenda of this year. His Excellency President Humala of Peru and His Excellency President Aquino of the Philippines have both made inclusion their trademark, as their economies reap of the dividends of strong growth. President Humala sees the challenge as a two-way street: social inclusion as a result of growth, and the growth as a result of social inclusion. He has made inclusion part of the comprehensive economic agenda of reform. President Humala continues to focus on improving competitiveness and attracting investment, while developing a broad set of social policies to improve the livelihood of his people. With the Philippines as one of the rising economic stars in Asia, President Aquino has been determined to transform rapid growth into inclusive growth. He is nurturing the innovative successes that the Philippines has achieved in providing access to financial services. And President Aquino is pushing ahead with structural and social reform that will enable the business sector to be a natural partner and contributor to the opportunity and inclusion. We can learn much from the experience of the two leaders this afternoon. President Humala, a warm welcome to Bali and to our summit. And President Aquino, welcome. I'm sure you know that you have a hard act to follow after the beautiful Miss Philippines was crowned Miss World here in Bali a few days ago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Gatot Suwondo, the CEO of Bank Negara Indonesia. And with that, we now hand over to our moderator for our session. Ladies and gentlemen, join me now in welcoming Linda Yue. Linda is the Chief Business Correspondent with the BBC.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here this afternoon to moderate what I'm sure is going to be a very insightful and very topical discussion on inclusive growth. We are going to try and cover a couple of things. One is how and where should the strategies be implemented to ensure that the rapid growth that we've seen in the emerging economies over the past 10 to 15 years can be spread to all parts of a society? And secondly, what can APEC countries learn from each other in terms of the successes and some of the challenges they've encountered in that goal? And I have no doubt that the panel that I have the privilege of chairing will be able to offer us many, many insights. After all, Peru and the Philippines are two of the fastest growing and most successful emerging economies. And I'm delighted to have the opportunity to introduce both presidents and have listened to their initial comments, after which there'll be a chance to have a conversation around the issue, and then the floor will be open to your questions and to your comments for these leaders. So, without further ado, I'm going to first ask President Humala to share his insights as to how to achieve inclusive growth. Mr. President.
aquí. ¿Sí? Muchas gracias a todos ustedes, señor presidente Aquino de Filipinas, señores ministros de Estado. El día de hoy hablaré por unos minutos de la experiencia del Perú en cuanto a la importancia de la inclusión social. Yo creo que en países de economías abiertas, donde se practica mercados abiertos, la libertad, este concepto y esta estrategia ha logrado dar grandes avances en el crecimiento económico. Hoy día Filipinas, el Perú y tantos otros países dan muestra de esto. Pero el tema es si basta solamente el crecimiento económico para lograr el desarrollo de un país, de un pueblo. El crecimiento económico es dinero en la billetera, es dinero en los bancos. El desarrollo es calidad de vida. Y creo que si simplemente enfocamos el tema del crecimiento económico y que el crecimiento económico va a lograr sacar a los pueblos de sus problemas y de sus necesidades, creo que estamos cometiendo un grave error. Porque el crecimiento económico per se no va a generar desarrollo. Creemos que es fundamental el concepto de la redistribución de ese crecimiento económico. Y de esa manera lo que estamos haciendo es inclusión económica, inclusión social. En el caso del Perú, el Perú es un país que hoy día tiene una economía muy dinámica, que en los últimos 10 años ha logrado triplicar su Producto Bruto Interno y que hoy día tiene una economía expansiva. Sin embargo, al igual que el resto de Latinoamérica, somos la región más desigual del planeta. Y esto es un grave cuestionamiento a la clase política, a toda la clase política que no ha logrado generar oportunidades en jóvenes, en ciudadanos, que justamente por falta de esas oportunidades no se pueden incorporar al mercado. ¿Qué sería si lográramos que el 100% de la población económicamente activa de un país se incluyera en el mercado y ayudaran a empujar la economía del país? Probablemente el crecimiento sería mucho más generoso y amplio de lo que hoy día tenemos. Por esto es que en el Perú hemos decidido cambiar la estrategia que habíamos recibido de gobiernos anteriores, que era crecer para incluir. Es decir, primero genero dinero y después de generar el dinero, los recursos, voy a realizar políticas redistributivas. Nosotros creemos hoy día que es al revés, es incluir para crecer, porque justamente el problema que tenemos es que hay masas de jóvenes desempleados, jóvenes que no tienen oportunidades para ayudar a los que hoy día están empujando el desarrollo de un país, de un pueblo. Y para esto nosotros hemos construido un conjunto de políticas. Primero hemos revisado el rol del Estado. Encontramos un Estado hiperconcentrado en la capital del país y en las grandes urbes, pero con déficit de presencia en el interior, en las áreas rurales, en las zonas de frontera. Un Estado conceptualizado sobre su presencia de acuerdo a la demografía y no de acuerdo a la geografía de un país. Es por eso que necesitábamos expandir al Estado, modernizar al Estado, hacer que el Estado esté presente en todo el territorio nacional. Un Estado que también se había malacostumbrado desde su origen a servir al 30% de su población y no al 100% de su población. Necesitamos entonces que ese Estado no solamente esté presente en todo el territorio nacional, sino que también tenga la capacidad de dar servicios al 100% de su población. El otro problema que encontramos en el Estado es que hoy día, gracias al crecimiento económico que se viene dando en el Perú, se viene creando un fenómeno de consolidación y expansión de una clase media, que hoy día su problema no es servicios, su demanda es calidad de estos. Y necesitamos un Estado que pueda darle justamente calidad en la electricidad, en el Internet, en las carreteras, en los servicios médicos, en los servicios educativos. Por lo tanto, lo que hicimos fue una reforma del Estado. Y en el Perú, esa reforma ha incluido una reforma tributaria que nos permitió ampliar la base tributaria en 30% más, o sea, 30% de nuevos contribuyentes que hasta antes de la reforma tenían sus actividades económicas en el Perú, pero no tributaban. Estaban en el mundo de lo informal, de lo invisible. Hicimos las reformas en lo que es defensa y seguridad. Hemos hecho la reforma en el servicio de educación. Estamos haciendo hoy día la reforma en el servicio de la salud y también hemos hecho la reforma del servicio civil, del burócrata, del empleado público, y que muchas veces por falta de capacitación no logra avanzar, mientras que en el sector privado los funcionarios de las grandes empresas cada día son más competitivos. En el Estado como que hemos ido a pasos más lentos, más despacios. Y hoy día tenemos que revertir esa situación. Todas estas reformas involucran una finalidad, que es la de tener un Estado más moderno, un Estado eficiente, un Estado que esté presente en todo el territorio nacional, con una burocracia que no tenga miedo de firmar un documento para otorgar un permiso a un contribuyente que solicita un permiso, a un burócrata que sea eficiente y que no se aproveche del cargo para sacar provecho. Es decir, un Estado reformado, un Estado del siglo XXI. Además de esto, no nos hemos quedado tranquilos con esta situación y lo que hemos querido fortalecer es un Estado que sea garante del orden jurídico, un Estado que respete y defienda la independencia de los poderes, un Estado que se alinee y se enmarque dentro del derecho internacional, es decir, tratar de fortalecer el concepto de la confianza, un Estado que sea predecible, es decir, que cuando ustedes se acuesten sepan lo que va a pasar al día siguiente y no que se acuesten y no sepan qué va a pasar al día siguiente. Además de esto, hemos trabajado con la población que se encuentra en la pobreza y en la pobreza extrema, porque a ellos hay que generarles oportunidades de inserción en el mercado. ¿Y cuál es la herramienta que permite que estas poblaciones puedan insertarse productivamente en el mercado? La educación. Por eso hicimos la reforma educativa también, pero además hemos creado programas de becas donde en 2 años de gobierno ya tenemos más de 15.000 beneficiarios, de los cuales 4.400 hoy día ya están estudiando en el exterior, en el extranjero, en países hermanos, para mejorar la capacitación de nuestra gente. Por otro lado, cuando llegamos encontramos que habían programas sociales. Programas sociales son esos programas o esas políticas, esas medidas que se toman para buscar resolver los problemas inmediatos de las poblaciones pobres y extremadamente pobres. Lo que hemos hecho es construir no solamente otros programas sociales, sino una política social y a través de un Ministerio del Desarrollo y la Inclusión Social, que es el que hemos creado en nuestro gobierno, y que nos permite establecer una estrategia social de corto, mediano y largo plazo. En el largo plazo es crear esas oportunidades a través de infraestructura, a través de educación, salud. En el corto plazo son programas que atienden, acompañan al ser humano y a la familia desde que nace hasta la tercera edad. Hemos creado programas de pensión no contributiva, para las personas mayores de 65 años en extrema pobreza. Hemos creado un programa de alimentación para la primera infancia en todas las escuelas públicas de mi país. Hemos creado, como les dije, este programa de becas. Hemos creado las cunas infantiles para las madres que salen a trabajar y no tienen dónde dejar a sus hijos. Es decir, hemos establecido una política social. Y además de esto, hemos constatado que bajo esta estrategia se generan más empleos, se genera mayor creación e innovación de las pequeñas y microempresas, y esto genera un círculo virtuoso que nos ayuda a mantener el crecimiento económico. El Perú, en estas épocas de turbulencia económica financiera mundial, sigue creciendo. La pregunta en el Perú no es si va a crecer o decrecer, sino cuánto es lo que va a crecer. Y creemos hoy día firmemente que la estrategia de incluir para crecer es una estrategia que ha cambiado la cara del Perú, que le permite hoy día al Perú participar en espacios importantes como este foro, como la Alianza del Pacífico y como el Acuerdo Transpacífico. Es decir, creemos firmemente que no se puede desligar el crecimiento económico, que es importante, con la redistribución a través de la inclusión social inteligente. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. President Aquino. Caught you out there.
Thank you, Linda. Inclusive growth has become an increasingly attractive development paradigm for the modern global economy. Across the globe, aided by information flowing at broadband speed, the poor, the marginalized, the disenfranchised have organized themselves and clamored for change, sometimes toppling regimes, or at the very least forcing those in power to take a closer look at the way our respective milieus have previously distributed wealth and opportunities. Their message: while high rates of economic growth and increased trade and investment remain necessary, these are no longer the sole measure of success for a progressive society. The challenge for governments has deepened. When in the past we gravitated towards metrics that reflect merely the wealth collectively amassed by an economy, more and more the task of governments has become ensuring that this wealth is not concentrated in the hands of the few, but rather that it is equitably utilized to raise levels of human development. In this manner, we engender a situation wherein the broader base of society can benefit from opportunities opening up through economic growth. Without these factors, a nation may perhaps experience periods of cyclical growth. Any progress, however, will be prone to disruption, because so long as a society has reason to clamor for change, whether due to a pervading sense of inequality, injustice, unfairness, or lack of opportunity, it will find ways to do so. This perhaps offers some insight into the question posed to us today. Why does inclusive growth matter? First, inclusiveness matters because it ensures the stability of societies and consequently the sustainability of growth. The equation for sustainability is also integral to a second, perhaps more important aspect. On top of fostering stability, social inclusiveness also empowers citizens to become bona fide economic actors that can productively contribute to nation building. It allows them to buy into the system from which they can reap benefits. Perhaps a few examples arising from my country and our ongoing strategy can help concretize this idea. For the past 3 years, we have increasingly focused our national budget on social services such as education, health, and poverty alleviation. Our flagship conditional cash transfer program now benefits close to 4 million families, and we have further expanded this so it may cover families with a child in high school. The only condition in this conditional cash transfer program, or the primary, is to keep your child in school. A recent research by the Philippine Institute for Development Studies says that there is a 40% increase in income for those who finished high school versus those who were mere elementary graduates. Furthermore, we seek to educate students even from far-flung and even nomadic communities through our alternative learning systems, wherein our public school teachers are embedded in these communities to provide basic education services. Add to this, we are well on our way to closing resource gaps in terms of classrooms, even as we have already eliminated backlogs for textbooks and armchairs in our public education system. This on top of a recent law expanding our basic education cycle from 10 to 12 years, which we foresee will increase the competitiveness of our graduates in the global arena. I also signed into law 2 bills that have languished in Congress for many years, not least because of intense lobbying from entrenched interests. The Responsible Parenthood and the Reproductive Health Act, which mandates access to information and family planning, and the Sin Tax Reform Act, which earmarks increased revenue from tobacco and alcohol into health services. This will certainly accelerate our universal health care agenda, which we continue to aggressively pursue. These are direct government interventions that we are pursuing as a proactive way of encouraging the equitable distribution of wealth, part of a concerted plan to ensure that all sectors take part in economic growth and partake in prosperity that it brings. Our task, to ensure that our people have the wherewithal to utilize and indeed maximize the opportunities opening up with the newfound revitalization of our economy. In the Philippines, where urban development and industrialization have historically happened in pockets, even as the greater segment of the poor remain in rural areas, we have also exerted much effort in empowering sectors that will have the greatest impact as regards inclusiveness, namely agriculture, tourism, and infrastructure. We have continued to pour funds into agriculture, streamlining the supply chain and providing much-needed support for our farmers. When in the past, our leaders have imported more rice than we needed and at exorbitant prices, today, because of good and prudent governance, the Philippines is well on its way to achieving rice self-sufficiency. You have also perhaps heard of our flagship campaign for our tourism industry. I invite you all to witness for yourself that indeed it's more fun in the Philippines. You will see that the entire population is living out this slogan with pride, bolstering both foreign and domestic tourist arrivals towards unprecedented highs. Our infrastructure agenda has likewise been a boon to both the agriculture and tourism sectors. Farm-to-market roads have begun to make previously isolated areas in the hinterlands accessible. A convergence strategy among national agencies has provided a framework for the construction and repair and enhancement of airports, roads, and other necessary infrastructure. Once completed, this will connect different hubs in the country in the most impactful way possible. On top of creating jobs through construction, these new infrastructure projects build an environment that is highly conducive to investments, all of which, coupled with our efforts in education, health, and poverty alleviation, spur a virtuous cycle of growth, empowerment, and equitable prosperity. In all cases, the integrity of public finances and resources from which government intervention is sourced must be protected. The Philippines has had an unfortunate history of corruption and non-transparent governance that had stunted the influx of opportunities and stifled the government's ability to execute anti-poverty strategies. In the last 3 years, significant gains have been achieved in weeding out corrupt officials, instituting more open governance and participative attack, and eliminating leakages in the system. In many ways, however, this task will continue to be a challenge in the years to come. I believe that such challenges need not only a whole of government, but rather a whole of society approach. We have already impressed our commitment onto partners in the legislature, the judiciary, and the subnational or local governments. They now realize that the people will settle for nothing less than honest, accountable, service-oriented governance, and that we in the executive are squarely on the side of the people. The private sector and international business community likewise have important roles to play in making economic growth more inclusive. On top of responsible practices, businesses must also actively engage with the community base, exploring new pathways to create opportunity and benefit for all. Practices that sacrifice long-term sustainability for short-term gain through an untenable extractive approach to resources or through creating tension between industries and communities must be revisited and changed. In sum, the question of inclusiveness is one that strikes at the very essence of growth. Do we define growth as the mere amassing of wealth, the mere swelling of the gross national product regardless of who benefits? Or do we decide and abide by the principle that the strength of nation lies in its people, that the fair and just way forward, indeed the only way forward, is for government to ensure that the system allows for equitability, where every citizen, regardless of status of birth or personal network or circumstances, is allowed the opportunity to shape his destiny through his own ability and hard work. This is the crossroads that every economy, indeed, the entire global economy as a collective, has come to face. And I'm confident that collectively, too, as humanity always has, we will rise to this challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think that's kicked off a really nice set of insights into what these two countries have done to try and promote inclusive growth. Before I open up to the audience, I just want to pose a question first to President Humala in terms of sharing his insights as to how progress could look in the coming years, because one of the most dramatic changes in Latin America is how much inequality has fallen as growth has sped up. But there are a number of economists who are concerned that as the commodity boom eases, that growth is slowing, and there are now more protests in these countries as to whether or not this progress towards cutting inequality and poverty will continue.
Bueno, a ver, en América Latina hoy día no es la región más pobre del planeta, es una región emergente del planeta que, al igual que países del sudeste asiático, en época de crisis vienen avanzando en un crecimiento económico sostenido, en procesos de consolidación de sus sistemas políticos a través de la democracia y las buenas prácticas de los valores. Pero hoy día América Latina tiene el reto de utilizar esta buena etapa económica en lo que es el desarrollo de los pueblos, porque no es la primera vez que América Latina ha tenido crecimiento económico. Otras veces hemos tenido crecimiento económico, pero ha sido, ni bien terminado el crecimiento económico, otra vez entramos en la línea de la pobreza y de los problemas que esto trae, inestabilidad política. Yo creo que hoy día el reto que tenemos es cómo utilizamos este crecimiento económico, que no es una finalidad, simplemente es un instrumento para poder corregir las brechas de desigualdad. América Latina tiene retos en lo que es infraestructura, en lo que es conectividad, en lo que es educación y salud, en lo que es llevar el agua para las familias del campo. Y América Latina, por otro lado, es una región muy rica en recursos naturales, minería, petróleo, gas, etc. En el caso del Perú, ya aterrizando en el Perú tiene uno de los mares más ricos del planeta, tiene 66% de su territorio es Amazonía, tiene la cordillera de los Andes que está llena de minerales y tiene la costa peruana que hoy día es un boom agroexportador. Nuestro reto hoy día es que todo eso se redistribuya en la población a través de una política social. Para mí, más importante que el crecimiento económico es qué se hace con ese crecimiento económico, la redistribución de ese crecimiento económico que permita darle oportunidad a los que hoy día no la tienen. Creo que nadie que haya tenido éxito puede decir que se ha hecho solo. Todos en algún momento hemos necesitado una oportunidad. Hoy día en América Latina hay millones de jóvenes que probablemente no alcancen el éxito porque no tienen oportunidades. Esa es una responsabilidad moral de todos los gobiernos. Para eso nos eligen. Nos han elegido, tiene una finalidad que es la de generar oportunidades para los ciudadanos que nos eligen. Creo que ese es el norte de la clase política y para esto, con este crecimiento económico, tenemos que reformar el Estado, tenemos que crear un entorno positivo para las inversiones, tenemos que trabajar ensambladamente de manera coordinada con el sector privado, con las grandes empresas, para que inviertan y también ellas asuman una responsabilidad social positiva con su entorno. Y de esta manera, la inclusión social será un mecanismo de armonía entre la política económica y la política social.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. President Aquino, can I pose a question to you, which often gets asked of an Asian leader, which is, when you think about having an inclusive social policy, Asia has always had a fairly small state relative to Europe, which has a much bigger social safety net. If you peered into your crystal ball and you looked at this emphasis on inclusive growth, will Asia in the future go down the route of more of the Europeans having a comprehensive social safety net, or will it become more like the Americans, where it's a smaller state, but more private provision?
I think if one is concerned about continued growth, if one is concerned about stability, prosperity, and the whole menu, if we neglect to look at the individual as an effective partner, then we are doomed to failure. So there might be pockets in the way perhaps Asian economies have had to go through various stages, wherein a few really benefited from the boom, and everybody was just had at the best a little amelioration of their present condition. So the way I'd explain it to some of our, shall we say, more conservative and more market-oriented businessmen was, if you look at our countrymen also as consumers, if you keep their wages at such a level that they barely make out an existence, how do they turn into your customers? And by doing so, and by engaging in such a, shall we say, a short-term perspective of profits for the next quarter rather than profits for the decades to come, you continue that process whereby you continue to limit your market is self-defeating. But turn them, give them the education, get them to participate at higher rungs in the labor sector, for instance, give the provisions for microfinance, amongst other things, to those entrepreneurs who are able to do so, then that is actually an investment in your own growth. And so, in direct answer to your question, in our country, we started with about 63% enrolled in our national health insurance program. We're at least about 84% or 86% at this point. The remaining percentage comprise the informal sector, which by definition has no permanent address, which makes it a bit difficult to capture them into the system, but we're also getting into that level already. I mentioned the alternative learning systems, amongst which will be to go to communities that are nomadic by lifestyle, who are in the mountains, and who actually have teachers already embedded in their communities to continue the education to reach out. At the end of the day, a more empowered citizenry is a partner for political stability, is a partner for economic prosperity, and is a partner for a future better than what we found.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. The floor is open. If you would like to pose a question, a microphone will come around. If you raise your hand and wait for a microphone to come around, I'm going to take a group of 3 questions. If you could first introduce yourself and then say who you would like to answer your question. And because we're short on time, I'd be very, very grateful if you kept your questions on the brief side. So more question, less a speech. I see a hand right here in the front. There's a microphone coming to you, I believe.
我有一个问题要问菲律宾总统，那个奥巴马不来参加这个会，听说2个原因了，一个呢，他政府关门了；第二个呢，听说那个我们习总书记来了，你也来了，都想找他，他呢这个不知道回答你们2个同样的问题，那个就是作为菲律宾总统的您，如何能够不让这2位领导人头痛？另外呢，如何能够更好的实现包容性增长？
Thank you. President Aquino, I think that question was for you, and it has to do with President Obama not coming to the APEC summit, and a couple of explanations. One is that he has a U.S. government shutdown, and that's why he couldn't come.
Right.
The other reason is that perhaps he has a few issues with leaders in the region, and if you could help smooth over some of his attempts to increase America's presence. The questioner wondered if that was something that would be possible for you personally to do.
To do for President Obama?
Yep.
I think I'll have to agree that President Obama has to attend to the government shutdown. The U.S. economy is the #1 economy in the world. What happens there affects all of us. And there are various estimates of how much losses conceivably can happen for both the American economy and the world economy. The world economy obviously is not in a position to withstand too much shocks at this point in time. We are just recovering as a global economy. So we perfectly sympathize. The Secretary of State is present, representing him. President Obama called us up. He's supposed to visit Manila after all of these trips in the region. He explained why he couldn't do it. And fortunately, I was in America in one of these government shutdowns where I had my father to explain what that means precisely. So we perfectly understand the situation. Stability in their economy promotes stability for the rest of the world's economy. And that is something we need if we are to make a better life for all of our people.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's take another question. There's a question over there.
Liu Dongguang from Taiwan. This is for President Aquino. I remember back in the early 1990s when I went to Philippines, to Manila, I felt a lot of fear. And there were all these black taxis called golden taxis all over. But since you've gotten to become president of Philippines, the economy has had a incredible transformation, and now you're defying all these Asian economies. Your Philippines is growing 7-point-some%. Filipino people have a lot of confidence. But the thought that occurred to me was that the government of Philippines and president of the Philippines is that you can only be elected for one term. And I wonder if you could maybe talk to us as to what may be things that are good about a one-term presidency, or maybe what are about a two-term presidency, and as to how can you ensure that the growth continues in Philippines. Thank you.
President Aquino, I think the question really is, if you could seek a second term, would you be setting yourself to do so?
Probably not. But perhaps I'll try to answer in about a minute or so. Where does that provision come from? We had the president who got first elected in 1965, got re-elected in 1969, and decided to stay until 1986. And our Constitution limited terms to 2 4-year terms. What is the best reason for a one-term presidency? There are decisions, especially for an emerging economy like ours, an emerging country like ours, that may not be politically, so to say, palatable or politically correct, but are necessary. My father used to say that when in the pre-martial law days, this was before 1972, if they had to raise 5 centavos, excuse me, if they had to raise fuel prices by 5 centavos, you would have nationwide strikes. It was practically difficult to govern. Now, you can make an unpopular decision right now, but it's necessary for the future good. And you are not worried about the next election. Whereas if you are concerned about the next term, everything you do has to be in the backdrop of how to secure your next years in office, which probably will be such a temptation to any leader to try and please the people all the time, regardless of whether or not it is good. So what we did in the past, what our theory is, give our people an experience of what good governance is. Good governance leads to good economics. And the good economics now enables us to address disasters, even natural disasters, without sounding like the world's beggar. We are able to address our needs in a very rapid fashion. For instance, the devastation that happened because of the rebels in Zamboanga City. We have funds already set aside that will rebuild the communities of people who about 100,000 or so into a better planned community, which will conversely have a better future than what it was from when we started. Now, beyond 2016, the belief is if our people are so used to this type of governance, then whoever will portray themselves or will be believed as continuing the policies we have set will be the one to get into office. So at the end of the day, our mantra is the bosses ultimately are our people, and they will decide and they will choose the person and the entity that will hopefully continue the policies that we have instituted.
Thank you very much. There's a question in the front there.
No vacations.
This is Harold from Newcomer Group in China. Question to Mr. President of Peru. As you know, China now is a bigger potential market for the world. And I want to ask you to share that how you as a president to support your Peru company to develop China market. Thank you.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias. Nosotros lo que estamos haciendo hoy día es el fortalecimiento de las oficinas comerciales para buscar dentro de China mercados para que puedan ingresar productos peruanos. Obviamente China es un mercado muy variado, muy grande, con muchas demandas, muchas oportunidades. Y ya hoy día algunas empresas peruanas están entrando a China. Hemos creado, además de eso, más consulados para también ir dando información tanto a los ciudadanos chinos como a los ciudadanos peruanos de las oportunidades. China hoy día es uno de los socios más importantes que tenemos nosotros en la región del Asia. Hay muchas inversiones chinas en Perú. La balanza o el intercambio comercial con China es muy importante. Hoy día es positivo para el Perú. Pero pienso de que ya hay empresas peruanas que se están internacionalizando, que están presentes en China, y lo que tenemos que hacer es, entre otras cosas adicionales, es en el Perú trabajar juntos para darle una mayor difusión al idioma chino, mayor información de todas las oportunidades que el mercado chino brinda a los productos nacionales y además de esto, mejorar, fortalecer el dinamismo del Ministerio de Comercio Exterior y Turismo, cuya ministra está acá, para dinamizar y facilitar el ingreso de los productos chinos y además aprovechar los acuerdos comerciales que ya hemos suscrito con China.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. We're pretty much out. We've got just a few minutes left, and I did want to give both presidents an opportunity to sum up with any final thoughts that they have had. For me, I thought it was the most enlightening session in terms of the commitment that I've heard towards broadening the scope of benefits from economic growth, which is something that both presidents have spoken very passionately about. So I'm now just going to go in reverse order and ask President Aquino if he could give us any final thoughts on this topic. And I'm also going to put you on the spot, Mr. President, and say growth, trade, quite important, TPP, big topic for Asia Pacific. Is this in your future as well?
Presently being studied with regards to TPP, but we will not distance ourselves from every opportunity that will give better opportunities and more opportunities for the people. talking to President Tumala earlier, one can't help but really be amazed at so many similarities between where they were, where they are now, where the problems are concerned. It just says, I guess, more than anything, that the human condition is really indeed universal. And if we are focused on all rather than self, then we will get somewhere. And if we do the reverse and focus on self, no, we will not even help ourselves, but we will actually ensure that we will never reach our own personal potential. So at the end of the day, focus on the other is the key to where we want to go.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. President Humala, similar question in terms of trade orientation. Is your future the Pacific, the rest of Latin America, or maybe that country just north of you, that big one?
Yo creo que nuestro futuro está en la medida en que el Perú pueda insertarse en los diferentes bloques económicos, comerciales que se vienen construyendo a nivel mundial. Yo le veo mucha importancia y potencialidad a lo que es el bloque, el Foro Económico Asia-Pacífico. Creo que, por otro lado, los gobernantes no debemos olvidar nuestro origen, que se crean los gobiernos para satisfacer las necesidades de todos, no de una minoría. Y en ese sentido, recalco que el crecimiento debe ser un instrumento, no una finalidad. Y creo que el Perú, como país, viene trabajando activamente, insertándose en los bloques comerciales que hay en el mundo, pero siempre recordando nuestro origen, que para cambiar la situación de desigualdad hay que trabajar el tema de la educación, hay que trabajar políticas sociales que nos permitan redistribuir ese crecimiento económico. Hay que invertir en infraestructura para que también las zonas del interior de nuestros países puedan también sacar sus productos a costos competitivos. Hay que modernizar el Estado, porque los tiempos cambian y las pequeñas y microempresas, que son hoy día un motor vivo, que generan muchos puestos de trabajo, que dinamizan nuestra economía, ellos también requieren reglas claras. Las reglas que da un gobierno no solamente son para los grandes, sino también deben ser útiles para los pequeños, para aquellos que recién se inician. A esos hay que cuidarlos como Estado. Como gobierno hay que incentivarlos, promoverlos a través de créditos, a través de capacitación, a través de información de qué es lo que está pasando en el mundo, a través de una serie de mecanismos, ventajas que podamos darles, porque recién empiezan, y ese es el futuro de nuestro país. Por eso yo estoy tranquilo, con la satisfacción de que el futuro lo venimos construyendo cada día como hoy. Muchas gracias.
It's been my privilege to moderate this session with two brilliant presidents who have spoken passionately about inclusive growth. We're out of time, but please join me in giving them a huge round of applause for sharing their views with us. Thank you very much.
Linda, thank you very much, bringing to a close our session 4. Ladies and gentlemen, please now rise for the departure of the President of Peru and the President of the Philippines.